HTTV with Absolute Warehouse Services, joined by Chairman Dean Hoyle. Dean, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Emotional day, big day in many ways. Manchester United now officially your last home game as chairman if all this deal goes to plan. Explain why now is the right time in your mind to step aside.
It's a tough one actually. It's a really hard one to explain. 10 years at a football club takes its toll. I've had recent illness. I'm not putting everything down to the recent illness because that would be the easy cop-out, but it has changed my outlook, no two ways about it. I think for me, regardless whether we stayed in the Premier League or relegated, I think this is the right time for me to step aside. I think the football club needs new drive. I think it needs new ideas. And I think, I've run management teams before, and the one thing lots of management teams don't do is acknowledge when the time is right to move on. And I think, I have to acknowledge now that this football club, it's an important time in transition from the Premier League to the Championship. It's going to be a really big summer. And I just feel, it's been a really tough year for the football club, but it's been equally tough for myself and Janet and the family with my illness. It's been really tough, and I just feel, my heart. Why would I ever want to give this club up? Why? It's been in my heart for so many years, too many years. I've loved the last 10 years, but my head says, my family need me, and it's time to pass on to somebody with enthusiasm, somebody who really wants the football club, not like I don't, but somebody who can really drive it forward, and somebody who understands the football club, and somebody who has, I think, after where we've been in the past, with shares, with administration, with boom and bust, I think it's good to pass it on to somebody like Phil, who understands and has felt that pain before, and he'll be a great custodian for this football club.
That's what I was about to come on to. I mean, from the first day that you became chairman, you've talked about what comes next quite openly, and said that whatever comes next, it has to be someone with the best interests of the club at heart. Is that what set Phil apart? Because you did say full process was undertaken, you had other interests from all across the globe. Was that the big factor for you with Phil?
It was. I actually contacted Phil. Not many people know this, but I had conference calls whilst we were in St James's Hospital in Leeds. I decided at that point it was time for me to sell, if possible. But it's easy to sell a football club, but it's hard to find the right owners. And I had some really good people interested from around the world, but it didn't just feel right to me. And I made a spontaneous phone call to Phil, and I said, would you be interested? And he absolutely jumped at the chance. And I remember having a meeting with him at St James's. I was wired up to all the drips, and I probably lasted about 40 minutes in the meeting. I couldn't last any longer. But from that point, it's been accelerated dealings, and I feel he's a proper person for this football club. Very similar to myself, runs a very successful business. It's going to get bigger and stronger, and I think it's an exciting future. But at the same time, I'm really sad that it's coming to an end. Really sad. It's hard to believe.
You talk about Huddersfield Town being in your heart for a long time. As chairman, 10 years is a long time in anyone's life. In football, it's an absolute eternity as well. So, we've achieved so much, haven't we, in a decade when you look back? You've obviously thought about this a lot. What are your outstanding memories? What are you most proud of?
The supporters. Honestly, I'm not just saying that. I've just spent the last 3 and 4 days barbecuing 800 rashers of bacon for these cyclists, and the rapport I've got with them, and over the last 10 years, myself, Janet, the boys, we've never ever had a bad word said against us. One thing Phil said to me, how are the fans with you? I said, absolutely magnificent, because they're a well-educated bunch. They know when things aren't going right on the football field, because let's be fair, you can't have success every single year. But this season we've been relegated. Have I had one bad word? Maybe on social media, but to my face, I've never had a bad word said to me or my family, and that gives us a great belonging. And the fans, you know, I've grown up with these guys for a long time, and I miss those. If you want to talk football, obviously Schindler's penalty is, I just couldn't believe it. It was, everything came together so well. Obviously the playoff final in 2012, the 4-4 draw at Sheffield Wednesday, my first game in charge, Luton Town away in the old First Division. Managers, you know, Stan Ternant, sorry, might have been chairman-elect. Yes. First game chairman-elect, yes, absolutely. Yeah. See, I've taken over a year earlier than I should have done. Stan Ternant, Lee Clark, Simon Grayson, Matt Robbins, all these guys, Chris Powell, you know, they all helped us get in all different ways to where we are today. The staff at the club, fantastic. You know, you, David, I'm going to embarrass you now. You know, these have been great working relationships, and it's really hard to move on from them, and it's hard to move on from the supporters. It's sad.
We're talking about moving on. Obviously, it is a moving on in a great way. It's important also to say that you are keeping a stake. You know, you're still here, but it's a change for you now, because you kind of get to go back from chairman back to man again. It can't be an easy transition, can it? You must have thought about it.
Nothing about giving up what's been a boyhood dream is never easy. It's just not easy sat here now. It's not easy giving up this football club. But the head has got to rule the heart, and yeah, I'm going to be a 25% shareholder. You know, Phil will have an option to take that from me in years to come. But you know, I'm quite excited about giving Phil advice going forward, and you know, hopefully that'll reinvigorate myself, which after, you know, a hell of a year personally, you know, my strength is coming back slowly. You know, I'm looking forward to that as well.
It seems fitting to me almost that we're sat here, you've got £100 top on, you know,
it smells of bacon, I can assure you.
Which is good for barbecuing if anyone knows. Yeah. It seems fitting that your first real day as chair, or first proper day as chairman, was that Southend game, Pedal for Pounds 1. And one of
it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Weeks is Pedal for Pounds 10, and you kind of get that home game against Manchester United of all clubs, which all being well will be your last home game as chairman. It feels fitting somehow to me. Would you agree?
I agree, but you know, let's just part Man United. I was absolutely desperate to actually go out on the home game, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think you know, I put my heart and soul into this football club, and for me just to you know, bow out after what 10 years, I worked up now. After 10 years, just to walk away in the summer, that'd have been hard for me. So, you know, just to get the last chance on Saturday would be good.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an interesting time for the football club as well. You've alluded to this already, obviously relegation, championship. I think everyone acknowledges there's a lot to do here.
There's a lot of work to do
as well.
Yeah, there is.
Just to reassure people, obviously that work started in earnest quite some time ago, but this doesn't kind of disrupt that in any way, does it? You know, that work is...
No, look, at the end of the day, you know, we've been working hard behind the scenes all the way through. You know, it's like, you know, people going about the sporting director, head of football operations, but both Phil and myself had a chat about this, and we decided it's such a big summer coming up financially for the football club, ins and outs. Then we want to make sure we control it ourselves. We don't want anybody coming in trying to prove their worth and getting things wrong. You know, the best people to get this right are the people who've got, you know, vested financial interest in the club, which is myself and Phil. So it's got to be right, and you know, but you know, we'll be starting the process very shortly to a point when the window's closed. The summer window will be closed. Then we will appoint.
In a lot of ways, it's indicative that you and Phil are on the same page in such a way that kind of transition is a good one to make. You know,
well,
many examples in football.
Yeah, to be fair, David, absolutely. You know, we've been talking for a few months now, and you know, the reason why you know, I want Phil to carry on my legacy is because we've got very similar views. You know, there's no boom and bust here. You know, if our fans expect, you know, Phil to go out and spend millions and millions, next year. That's not going to happen. What we can't afford to do is blow our brains in the first year of parachute and have a fire sale in our second and hope for survival in our third. It's not going to happen. We've got to be, custodians of this football club. I think I've done a half-decent job over 10 years, and that's what Phil wants to do. His reputation is on the line, and I'm sure he'll carry on in the same vein as I have.
When you look League One to the Premier League, you talk about that legacy. You must be unbelievably proud of everything that the club's achieved under your tenure. I
think the biggest thing I'm proud of is whether going from League One to the Premier League has galvanised this, but the way the football club now is the centre of the community. It wasn't when I came in. It was very disjointed, and look, pedal for pounds today, the charity work we do, and I know I keep rambling on about the charity work and the good work we do, but it's so important to many fans. They want to feel proud. Look, we all know football clubs go through ups and downs, but every football club wants to be proud of their club, regardless, because we can't always control what happens on the pitch. We can't control it. What we can do is control what happens off the pitch. And I think Huddersfield Town is probably one of the most unique clubs up and down the country where we really work hard in the charity and it works well. These guys today on the pedal for pounds 10, there's some of them got hypothermia today, but they're still soldiering on, and it's brilliant. It's been fantastic to be part of them.
You've almost touched on this already, what you said about the supporters. I was going to ask you, have you got a parting message for the fans? Is it as simple as thank you, or is there anything else you'd like to say to them?
I think they've been magnificent to me, to Janet. I can't believe how good they've been. They've been absolutely unbelievable. Whether that's because I'm one of theirs, I've supported the club from '79, but I think what I need them to do now is I pass the baton over to Phil. I think they also have to come with me on that journey. I think they have to give Phil as much encouragement because, this job is not an easy task. To be chairman of a football club, working in a goldfish bowl with everybody watching is a really, really hard task.
You'd be the first to say that you've learned things, and we've certainly made mistakes in that 10 years, haven't we? There's no hiding from that.
I still make mistakes. Sometimes you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, but you do it with the right intentions. And I think as long as, Phil going forward can do things with the right intentions, which I'm sure he will, then he'll be good and he'll be welcomed by the supporters. And I just want the fans to come on that journey with me to make sure he gets a really good welcome and to give him time. This is a daunting job for him, a daunting job. Remember he'll be taking over a football club what's just been relegated from the Premier League. So the bar is right up there. I took over at a point where I couldn't really go wrong, to be fair, in a way. And I had an easy start and quite an easy induction, but this is different. So Phil has probably got a bigger challenge than me. To the fans, obviously I'll still be a Huddersfield supporter. Thank you for giving, me, Janet, the family, absolutely everything, all the support. And from me to them, I've just done my best for them. I couldn't have done any more. A bit of a sad way it's come to an end, with the illness, but it's got to move on.
I don't think anyone would, for a second, question that's not as good a reason as there ever is going to be to do one thing. Thank you. It's kind of all we can finish off on. I mean, it's going to come as a shock to people, but I think I'm going to speak.
It's a shock to me, David.
Yeah, but
it's a shock to me.
Whilst we're here, I've got to say that I think on behalf of all the staff and all the fans as well, it's been an unbelievable 10 years. So thank you on behalf of everyone connected with Huddersfield Town for everything you've done for this club.
Thank you.